Hello everyone. Welcome to the line by line explanation of Macbeth Act 1, Scene 2. Before we go into the scene, let's first look at what happens in this scene. So, as you already know, MacDonald, the Thane of Cawdor, along with the help of King of Norway, had rebelled against King Duncan. So Macbeth and Banquo, they were having a fight against these. So in this scene, which takes place near the palace at Forres, King Duncan asks a wounded captain about what is happening in the fight. The wounded captain tells King Duncan that Macbeth and Banquo have fought valiantly and bravely against MacDonald and has slayed and killed him. After that, the Thane of Ross, who is a nobleman, comes and tells King Duncan that Macbeth have fought bravely against the Thane of Cawdor and against the army of the King of Norway, and the army has retreated and the Thane of Cawdor has lost the fight. Therefore, King Duncan announces that the Thane of Cawdor be killed and his title should be given to Macbeth. So this is what happens in this scene. Now let's go into the line by line explanation. So this scene too, like I mentioned, takes place in a camp near Forres. Enters King Duncan, Malcolm, Donalbain. So Malcolm and Donalbain are the sons of King Duncan. Lennox is a nobleman who supports King Duncan, and there are other attendants as well. That is when they meet a bleeding sergeant. So Duncan says, that is King Duncan says, "What bloody man is that? He can report as seemed by his plight of the revolt, the newest state." So here King Duncan is saying, who is this man who's so wounded and full of blood? He seems to be able to report on the latest developments of the battle or the fight, looking at his situation because he's full of blood and he's wounded. So it seems like he can tell us the latest developments in the battle. Malcolm says, "This is the sergeant who, like a good and hardy soldier, fought against my captivity. Hail, brave friend." So here Malcolm is saying that this is a sergeant who was good and a strong soldier because he fought in order to free Malcolm from captivity by the enemy army. So that is why Malcolm says, "Hail him, he's a brave friend." Then Malcolm says, "Say to the king the knowledge of the broil as thou didst leave it." Please tell the king what knowledge you have or what you know of the battle as you left it. The wounded sergeant says, "Doubtful it stood." Doubtful it stood means for some time we could not tell who would win. As two spent swimmers that do cling together and choke their art, because the two armies were like tired swimmers that were clinging on to each other, and they were hampering each other's movement because they were holding on to each other and not letting the other person move. The merciless MacDonald, worthy to be a rebel, for to that the multiplying villainies of nature do swam upon him from the western isles. So here the sergeant is saying the evil and merciless MacDonald, who is a rebel, was supported by the ever increasing number of army people. That is what is meant by multiplying villainy. So ever increasing number of these enemies or villains who came and supported him from the group of islands in the west of Scotland. Of cairns and gallows glasses is supplied. So MacDonald was supported by cairns. Cairns means lightly armed foot soldiers, and gallows glasses mean heavily armed soldiers. And Fortune, on his damned quarrel smiling, showed like a rebel's whore. So even Fortune is the Lady Luck, was supporting MacDonald and smiling along with him, showing that she was also supporting the rebel and was like the rebel's lover. So whore means prostitute, but here the surgeon intends to tell that even Lady Luck, the Fortune, was smiling and supporting MacDonald and looking down upon their enemy, and the Fortune was supporting Rebel, that is MacDonald, like as if she was his lover. But all's too weak for brave Macbeth. But even if Fortune and everything, and MacDonald was supported by a lot of armies who were light armed and heavily armed, but all of this was too weak when compared to the brave Macbeth. And well, he deserved that name. So Macbeth deserves the name to be brave because he was disdaining Fortune. Disdaining means scorning, looking down upon at Fortune with his brandished steel, so along with his sword, which smoked with bloody execution. So the sword, it reeked of blood of people that he had killed. And like Valor's minion, carved out his passage till he faced the slave. And just like Valor's bravery's favorite, or like a darling, he carved out his passage means made way across till he faced the villain. Who's the villain here? MacDonald. Which never shook hands nor bade farewell to him, till he seamed him from the nave to the chaps, and fixed his head upon our battlements, who did not even get time to shake his hands or wave goodbye, because Macbeth had quickly cut him from the navel up until his jaws, and then hit his head upon the walls of the castle. So MacDonald did not even get time to shake hands or say his goodbye or farewell because he quickly came and killed him. Duncan says, "O valiant cousin, worthy gentleman." So King Duncan is all praise for Macbeth. He calls Macbeth his cousin because Macbeth's mother and Duncan's mother were sisters. The sergeant says, "As whence the sun gins his reflection, shipwrecking storms and direful thunders break, so from that spring whence comfort seems to come, discomfort swells." So this portion is important. As well as this portion, it is important as well. The sergeant describing Macbeth. Okay. So just like how sun rises in the east, shipwrecking storms and dangerous thunders can also appear from the same place. Just like that, from the source where comfort comes, discomfort will also come. So here the sergeant is comparing comfort to the sun rises in the east, and the discomfort is dangerous storms and thunders. So here the sergeant is saying, just like how we thought that McDonald's is slayed and everything is going to be good and comfortable, something bad was bound to happen. Mark, King of Scotland, mark means pay attention, listen, King of Scotland. No sooner justice had with valor armed. So as soon as justice had compelled these skipping kerns to trust their heels. So just when we had forced the armed soldiers to flee away, or the Irish soldiers to run away for protection, but the Norwegian lord, surveying vantage, with furbished arms and new supplies of men, began a fresh assault. But the Norwegian king, who surveying the advantage, or when he saw that there was an opportunity here, he seized that opportunity, and with fresh and polished army people who who had never fought in the war until now. That means they had not yet come into the battle. That is why it says new supplies of men. So along with men who are very strong and not tired, they began a fresh attack. So just when Macbeth thought that they had won and everything was going to be good, the Norwegian king brought more soldiers and started a new assault. So King Duncan says, dismayed not this our captains Macbeth and Banquo? So did this not discourage our captains Macbeth and Banquo? Did it not cause concern to them? So the sergeant replies, yes. But here the answer is ironical. It doesn't really mean yes. Let's see why. As sparrows, eagles, or the hare, the lion. So the surgeon says, just like how sparrows scare eagles, or how the rabbit frightens the lion, just in the same way, the Norwegian king's attack scared Macbeth and Banquo. So he's sarcastic. He doesn't mean that they got scared. If I say sooth, so if you remember in Julius Caesar, soothsayer was the truth sayer. So if I say sooth means if I say the truth, I must report that they were as cannons overcharged with double cracks. So they were like cannons that were loaded with double the ammunition. So not only did they not get scared, they had striked upon their enemy with double the force. Except they meant to bathe in reeking wounds or memorize another Golgotha. So the surgeon says maybe that they meant to bathe in the blood that has come from the wounds of the enemies, or recreate the same event as Golgotha, where Jesus Christ was crucified. So the soldier saying, I cannot tell, but I am faint. My gashes cry for help. So finally, the surgeon says that I am feeling weak and my wounds, they are crying to be tended. Then King Duncan says, so well, thy words become thee as thy words. They smack of honor both. So your words as well as your wounds both bring you honor. And the king says, take him to the surgeons. Then someone comes. So King Duncan says, who comes here? Malcolm says, the worthy Thane of Ross. Lennox says, what a haste looks through his eyes. So should he look? That seems to speak things strange. So he has a hurried expression on his face, and it seems like he wants to say something strange, or he has some strange story to tell. And enters Ross. Ross says, God save the king. Duncan says, whence came thou, worthy Thane? Where have you come from, worthy Thane? Ross says, from Fife, great king, where the Norwegian banners flout the sky. So Ross says, I have come from Fife, and in that place the Norwegian flags, they are mocking and they are flown in the sky. And fan our people cold. That means to scare away our people. Norway himself with terrible numbers, assisted by the most disloyal traitor, the Thane of Cawdor. So the king of Norway himself, along with a large number of army people, and he was assisted by the most disloyal traitor, because the Thane of Cawdor was disloyal to King Duncan, and they began a dismal conflict. So the king of Norway, assisted by the Thane of Cawdor, they began a disastrous battle. Till that, Bellona's bridegroom, lapped in proof, confronted him with self-comparisons, point against point rebellious, arm against arm. So here, the Thane of Ross is describing Macbeth. So describing Macbeth as Bellona's bridegroom. Who is Bellona? Bellona is the Roman goddess of war. So he's saying Macbeth was like the husband of the Roman goddess of war, and who had worn a very strong armor, and he confronted the king of Norway. Point against point means sword against sword and arm against arm. So this shows how Macbeth was a very valiant performer in the battle, and it describes his prowess as a warrior. Curbing his lavish spirit, and to conclude, the victory fell on us. So finally, Macbeth was successful to control the impudent spirit. Impudent means the uncivilized spirit of the enemy. And finally, victory was theirs. And Duncan says, great happiness. So he's elated, he's happy that victory was theirs. Ross says that now Sweno, the Norway's king, craves composition. So now the Norway's king, he longs for terms of peace as he has lost the battle. And they told him that they would not even let the king bury his men unless he retreated, and at St. Colmy's Island he would pay them $10,000 for their general use. King Duncan says, no more that the Thane of Cawdor shall deceive. So no longer will the Thane of Cawdor again cheat us. Our bosom interest, go pronounced his present death. So it is for our vital interest, go pronounce or go tell that the Thane of Cawdor shall be executed, shall be put to death. And with this former title, greet Macbeth. So from now on, Macbeth will be given the title, the Thane of Cawdor. Ross says, I'll see that it is done. King Duncan says, what he hath lost, noble Macbeth has won. So what the Thane of Cawdor has lost, that title has been won by Macbeth. And the scene ends. I hope my explanations were clear and you got to understand the scene more better. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Thank you and God bless.